Okay. We are recording. Hey, greetings and welcome to the Indienomicon podcast. My name is Jeff, and this episode I'm chatting with a guy who is a fixture at the Indienomicon events. You see him all the time, and that's where I met him first. It's Michael McGurk. Michael, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Real good, real good. Do you go by Michael or Mike?
It's funny actually. Some people call me McGurk. You could just call me Mike. Call me Mike.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah,
So McGurk, hey man, what has the Indienomicon experience been like for you? When did you jump into the gang, and what have you been doing with all your time in Indienomicon?
So I believe I started almost a year ago at this point, probably. Just ever since for more background information, I moved here to Florida, and I go to Full Sail. I just graduated from Full Sail, by the way. I have been kind of doing that for, I was doing that for at this point around there's a 20-month program, and at some point when I was in one of my classes, I I think I was added to like the school class Discord, and I was given basically like a bunch of different links for stuff, and one of them was Indienomicon. And I kind of looked, I saw it was that weekend or whatever, or at some point, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And then, kind of ever since then, which yeah, again, probably about a year ago, probably I'd say probably around last June or so. That probably adds up. I started to go and just kind of keep going to it. Every so often, like there'd be some I miss, but mostly I just try to anytime I have a free the first Saturday of the month free, I would do my best to go to it and just kind of mingle, kind of interact. It's I've definitely had a very good experience overall. I really just kind of up until the last one I was just at that we were just at. I basically I would just kind of watch. I would play all the games. I would kind of get some connections in. That was kind of what I was doing. I was told to do it Full Sail and all that. So they're all very positive about networking and stuff. So that's what I kind of did for a while. A lot of it was just kind of, kind of being in the corner, just seeing what other people are doing. But I think as the class started to wind down, as class stuff kind of started to wind down, I began to, kind of get a little bit more involved, just kind of, again, stay a bit longer, talk to people. And eventually, once I had a project ready for me to present there, um, I brought it up to Isabella, and yeah, head of the event, and I was like, yeah, I have an idea. I sent you a thing, and I kind of just got that squared away. And I went to the last mega meetup, and I had a game to present. I was at a little station, and yeah, so that's kind of where we're at in terms of my involvement. But yeah, so now I'm no longer just a fly on the wall. I'm now an ex presenter. So
Yeah, it's really cool.
uh,
That's really cool. Yeah, what I think is amazing about the blast zone of Indienomicon is it can impact so many people, whether you're right there in the heart of the game jam, on a team, or
yeah.
whether you're just attending some of the monthly meetups or the mega meetups. You can learn from watching and hearing developers talk about the process, or people who are
Mhm.
supporting the game dev. Last time I was at a mega meetup, I talked to a video game lawyer. I talked to a
Yeah.
women in technology organization leader. So there's all this kind of spillover from the game jam is kind of the center of the blast zone, and there's all this great stuff that's coming around. And
Mhm.
I hear people talk all the time about what they gain from these, the game jams is, not just the experience of creating a product in a real short
Mhm.
time, but these partners and people who, oh, we have skills that complement each other, or objectives that, are in alignment with each other. So that's a real
Mhm.
cool thing. I was so impressed by your game. What was it like to share that at the meetup?
It was very good. Yeah, obviously, it, it was all kind of a scheduling thing. I would have, I have done a couple of game jams that were sanctioned by Full Sail, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. Like me personally, the game jams there, but after seeing a lot of the games that were made in that time frame, it's very impressive. I just wanted to preface that. But in terms of my game, which was Tower Offensive, which was a class project that I kind of worked on with it was four other game devs, so it was five people in total for basically for a month. So like the main thing was done in a month. We kind of just been polishing it ever since. Just kind of uh, basically adding some stuff to it, just making sure it's more functional and a bit more playable. That experience has been just being able to show it off, being able to kind of get a lot of feedback on it from this last mega meetup was very insightful. Definitely got a lot of people to try the game out, and so I think it went well. I think people. I hope people took to the game. I got a lot of. I checked. I had a QR code which I put up there after my talk, and people seem to like it. I gotten some downloads. I'm very happy to have that. Very fortunate. So.
Yeah, I people enter that Thunderdome sometimes as game
Mm-hmm.
producers, coders, designers, and they forget that they have to pitch it, that they have to stand up there and sell it. Speaking of selling it, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to presume that we've been able to put the itch link right here underneath our faces as we've been talking, so people can go to
Mm-hmm.
your game, and then the link in the YouTube comments. People can click on it and go visit the game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, I I absolutely agree with you that it's very constructive to be able to gain the skills of producing a game like you did at Full Sail, but then be able
Mm-hmm.
to stand up in front of a bunch of people and pitch it and sell it. And I've even seen people have that experience, and then even while talking about it, they stop and think, hmm, maybe I need to change it because when I'm talking about it, it sounds like it needs to be more exciting or be more
Mm-hmm.
challenging or something like that. But let's get back to the game. Like, what kind of partnership? You said it was something at Full Sail. Did you work on it with a team, or was it all McGurk?
So we basically had. It actually was more of a dynamic kind of size of a team. So it started out as five, like five main, all game dev tracks. So it was all game developers, aspiring ones that all kind of worked on it. It was our final project, and we all basically kind of put all of our different kind of skills into it that we were kind of building. In terms of what I did with the game, I did player movement, which I think was kind of important because we all pitched the idea, but I think we weren't sure how we were going to execute it. So I think getting the player movement down quickly was probably something that helped us kind of in the long run with that. And I also worked on the enemy AI. So basically, like all the guys coming to your towers and the different kind of things that they do. I was kind of in charge of that for the most of it because I think the player movement stuff we kind of ironed out quickly, and I kind of thought that I wouldn't have enough to work on if I just worked on the player stuff. So I basically kind of pivoted to enemies like about halfway through and kind of focused more energy on that. And then of course, we had a couple other people. So in terms of our main stack, we had someone who worked on the towers and like the weapons kind of stuff. We had someone who worked on the wave system, someone who worked on the UI, someone who worked on the currency and all some other like shop stuff basically. So we had like five main devs who kind of split their time, and then after that we basically used all the free assets we could find and like whatnot, and whatever assets that were commercially available that we were allowed to use. And then after that, we basically I posted a link to my game in one of the Full Sail discords that basically was like, yeah, if anyone else wants to help out. And then about a few days later, I get a message from one of the course directors saying that they may have interns who would like to help, and I was very interested in that, and so now uh, they're still working on it. They're kind of winded down at this point because the main deadline was this showcase basically. But we've had three other people working on the game, kind of two programmers who are helping out with some stuff, some more back end, basically the tutorial. We're still trying to tweak that, and then some other enemy stuff. And then we have someone else who basically remodeled all the towers for us and is like a 3D modeler and kind of helped us out with that aspect. So basically, at the moment, we have like 8 different people who've come in, like we've all kind of come and gone and like put our own kind of handprint on the project. And I think as like kind of the person who was in charge, almost basically like overseeing the collaborative kind of aspect. I wasn't project lead initially, but I kind of grew to be that role after I took in these people and kind of onboarded them a bit. But after kind of taking and being accustomed to that role, it's such a unique experience to have and to have gained from a game that we kind of saw the starting. We all saw like the starting processes of like. Like I remember when this was just a test level, and now we have people helping us work on it that we didn't even expect or didn't even imagine. And it's like, as much as I do obviously enjoy the game, I like what we did with it. I like it conceptually. I think what it represents as like a stepping stone outside into some real world experience, whether it be the actual programming side or just the ability to collaborate in that way that I did, is pretty valuable. So I'm just really excited to have that kind of
Huh.
experience with it.
Yeah, that's fabulous. How you kind of feel like you grew within it,
Hmm.
as far as a kind of a collaborator, somebody who is part of the team, and then the person who's the one who's kind of leading the charge, as it were. I wanted to know, going backwards a little bit,
Hmm.
what platforms it built on, and then what was it like to create that the AI? I'm assuming that's what's powering the
Hmm.
little marauders that are coming at you.
So it's first off built with Unreal Engine 5.2, if I remember correctly, the exact version. It was it's funny because a lot of it was our first it was our first big game that our first different game that we did with Unreal, because before that we had like a bunch of tests kind of we had a lot of test stuff that involved like very like kind of default like like third person kind of movement and stuff. And it's funny because like I was cool. I think originally for this project I had some ideas. I did want to do kind of like a retro style like FPS kind of game, like like a Doom-esque kind of thing. I had ideas for that, but then like almost my entire team we were like, and by the way, it's just, I do want to find it funny that our class at this point during final project was 5 people, and all 5 of
Oh.
us worked on, like, we were all this team.
Hmm.
Like there were some people before us. It was kind of a weird situation. Like some people were like kind of technically a month behind, but it was just kind of like logistical stuff. But basically that and of course people dropping out before then or switching majors, which a lot of them did. Uh, but led us to be the only 5 people who are doing the bachelor's in game dev at the time. So we all just kind of like, all right, we gotta keep pitching ideas. We have to make sure that we all have a vision that we kind of want to stick with, and we all pitched our visions and stuff. And it basically just kind of, I think they're all very exasperated about like, oh, we don't want to do shooters. Like they all, a lot of them were like, because we did stuff with Unity earlier on, which is a lot of like basic shooter stuff
Yeah.
uh, that we did, and then we also did like we had basically had 2 straight Unreal classes that were all about like third person movement and then kind of objectives and stuff, and like and in that kind of way. And I think they were all kind of sick of that, and I don't blame them, especially because as it turns out they don't really play they're like in terms of the entire group as a whole, like their specialties don't really lie in shooters. And it's like I thought personally when I first was going into it, I was like, that might be a bit frustrating because like I kind of want to. I think we could make something more polished based on the things that we like know, like because we know how to do a lot of the shooter stuff, a lot of the basic movement. But I think it was just one day in class we basically had to have like 3 basic pitch documents like done for that week. And then after that, we'd basically expand them and just kind of keep writing and keep developing once we lock our actual game down that we choose of the 3. And we basically just like we were in our lab after class, and we all just kind of like we all just kind of like pitching ideas, and I just kind of I threw out the idea of as like a joke. It really was just like kind of like a whatever thing. I was like tower defense, but it's offense. But it wound up being the best choice. I think it wound up happening for the best. Us knowing so quickly that this is what we wanted to do and what we wanted to execute on wound up working in our favor. And I think
Great.
overall it was like just getting it to start like that and getting it to kind of go on. And then our roles are kind of predefined by older stuff because I worked on another game that's also all these games I talk about. If I talk about any of them, are in my portfolio, which is linked. Hopefully, well, it's linked right there. So it's McGurk.network if you want to click that, or if you want to type that into your browser. But
Mhm.
I've had experience with AI kind of stuff earlier on. We were making a game in Vulkan with a bunch of other basically C++, and we made a game called Bar Hopper, with a different team of people. And that game kind of was my first big taste of like trying AI stuff out, because at the same time as that class, I had an AI, like artificial intelligence, like separate class that was more about principles. And I basically was trying to apply those principles to this game that I was also working on there. And I think that kind of mad dash kind of inspired me to try it out, like just to keep trying AI and like in terms of like, you know, character artificial intelligence, like for enemies
Mhm.
and stuff. And I just kind of kept doing that. And I think that's kind of how that role blossomed in Unreal. And I just kind of kept at it. I kept uh, integrating. There were so many problems in Tower Offensive. There's still things we were fixing. Still things we're fixing now. Most of it works, but we did notice there's like a crash that happens. I think if you build like a tower on one of the enemies in like a specific way.
Mhm.
Most of that's been ironed out. That might need to still be looked at, but I think in terms of like the navigational problems, there were so many problems that we did have during development. Like the enemies used to walk into each other, which I thought we wanted, but upon like keep looking and like upon consideration of like the enemy pathing and stuff, we just thought that it'd be way clunkier to try to get them to like, because like they basically just were like colliding the whole time, but instead like they would never get to like their final position to like aim and shoot. So it was like there's so many weird kind of things like that. But we wound up kind of we made them so that they pass through each other, and that kind of fixed a bunch of bugs in and of itself. And then there were so many
Yeah.
other bugs and stuff. But it was a process learning how to use the Unreal kind of trees and all that, and
Mhm.
kind of, you know, learning how to use C++ with it, because honestly there aren't too many C++ tutorials for it. It's a lot of blueprint stuff
Oh,
out
yeah.
there. um but learning how to make like how, because like in theory it is, the way it's worked in Unreal, it is a blueprint system. Again, it's like the animation manager. There's like blueprints, but within those you can like within this like you know, basically this tree and Blackboard and stuff, you can basically like put in tasks that are in code. So it's like you can code
Mhm.
that way. But the way it works, you know, I had to figure out. But overall, it was very rewarding, and it gave me a new lease on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to
Cool.
focus on.
Well, tell us what that is.
And
Tell us
yeah.
tell us what your new tell us what the future is like for you, or what your focus is.
Yeah. So my focus in terms of programming is I would like to definitely start working on more AI stuff, artificial intelligence in terms of the player movement. I know the worst part about me choosing it is because I have to specify it's not generative and stuff,
Mhm.
um, which I mean again is its own field entirely. But you know,
Yeah.
so it's like I specifically pathfinding, I guess is a better term in that respect, and other stuff and like decision trees and whatnot. But I think
Mhm.
having like the character AI, kind of stuff, the character artificial intelligence of like, you know, enemies moving and stuff. That's kind of what I want to specialize in, and I think I have ideas for games. I've definitely have some more kind of things I want to do, but overall I want to kind of work more on my programming side.
Yeah.
And at some point I want to, I've been taking a little bit of a break, obviously, because I just graduated, but I do at some point want to get back into looking for these kind of roles, these jobs, internships and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm open to anyone who'd want to offer that of some sort. I'd be okay with just getting more
Yeah.
experience. That's kind of what this stage I'd say is all about.
Well, Michael, I feel like you're in a kind of a shining example of. Sometimes I ask people why should they get involved with Indienomicon, and I think the answer you've given us through the narrative that you've experienced
Mm,
is clear. You know, there are great opportunities to learn how to present, you know, projects that you're working on. If you actually get into the game jam, obviously you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is, and stand up there and show everybody your game. But also, you
mm,
know, the opportunity to connect with people and slowly, however slowly you'd like to, kind of dip yourself into the community and connect with people there.
mm,
So it's cool to know that you have enthusiasm after graduating full, you know, from Full Sail and learning a lot there, enthusiasm
mm.
and an idea of what there is in that world of game dev that you are excited about working on.
Yeah,
So I really appreciate you chatting with us today. And,
yeah.
you know, in your own words, if you were
Mhm,
to talk to a friend, maybe they're a student at Full Sail, maybe it's somebody you met at a different game jam, or just a dev you met on Discord, why would you
mm.
tell them to get involved in Indie?
Well, I'd say that Indienomicon as an event, as this kind of communal, kind of thing, as a this monthly kind of showcase is a very good thing, just as much as it is about games, because obviously, games are cool. Games are great, and that's kind of why I went in the first place. Is I like games, and I like people that like making them, and it aligned with my interests. But I think what you come for the games, and you come for that experience of being able to play other ones. I think just in general, being able to play a game and talk to the dev who made it, it's like sitting right there, is great. So this is, I mean, this part specifically is just for people who are interested in games, not even just devs. If you like supporting or knowing about smaller creators, people who want to make stuff, people who are cool, it's obviously a great spotlight for that. It's a great spotlight to see local talent and whatnot, and it's just excellent to see that. But as someone who is a developer who wants to work for that kind of thing, who wants to go a bit above being a fan, as good as being a fan can be, if you want to go beyond and show off your game, get more relevant presentation experience, it's a great experience for that too. It's just, it helps so many, and the fact that it feels like a very multifaceted event, because you have so many different disciplines that all either share in that kind of game goal or kind of go into another direction. Especially with the mega meetups, there's so many startup pitches and all those kind of intricacies that if you like being a presenter, presenting and whatnot, it feels just kind of like a celebration of tech, but not just tech, but the people behind the tech. I'd say I think it might allure people with it being this celebration of let me get more in the know. I think that's how it might attract more of the library patrons who kind of go. And then I think you also get those people who want to stay and keep returning because they realize how much heart there is to the technology that's being created around them. And I think this event illuminates that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, buddy, it's really nice to talk with you. It's been fun to meet you at the meetups, and I'll see you in the future there. And for anybody else who's interested in checking out McGurk's work, the work of McGurk, obviously we've got McGurk.network, and then the itch link that we show for the game there. We expect great things from you, buddy, and you've already delivered on some, in collaboration, of course, with all the Full Sail people who you worked with on that. You were very clear about giving them credit, and I appreciate that. So if anybody is interested in learning more about the schedule for the Indienomicon meetups, for the game jams, there should be some QR codes right down at the bottom. There's a QR code probably on the bottom left-hand side, and that'll take you to a lu.ma page, a Luma page, that will have the whole schedule there, so you can get involved. And we have our sponsors in this card here, which I'll bring up, and want you to know how much gratitude we have to them for sponsoring Indienomicon. This has been Jeff Hopkins, and I've been talking to who?
Michael McGurk.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next Indienomicon podcast.